Hello, hello. Welcome to Geek Fox Nation. My name is Tia, and I am the content manager bringing you another Tea Time with Tia. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, but I figured no time like the present. This video I'm doing just for the simple fact that I kind of want to air out my own thoughts over just recent news. So if you have not heard, Jon Bernthal is coming back as Frank Castle, aka the Punisher in Daredevil Born Again. This is very exciting news for me personally. I was a huge fan of Jon Bernthal's portrayal of the anti-hero in Daredevil season 2, and I was ecstatic when he got a his own show on Netflix, The Punisher's seasons 1 and 2. And that's exciting for me. And as I'm sure for so many people, a lot of people loved the Netflix Marvel shows, including myself. I even rewatched the Iron Fist seasons, as disliked as they were, but I think I just loved living in that world. And when everything was canceled, it really felt as if that was the last we had seen of all of these characters, or specifically these actors. I think that was like a very important thing, because I think a lot of people kind of knew that Marvel would reuse these characters again. At least they hoped. And the point was that we wanted to see these actors who we thought embodied these characters so much return as well. And we obviously got confirmation that Disney's Marvel was willing to bring in actors from the Netflix universe when we saw Charlie Cox come in Spider-Man No Way Home, Vincent D'Onofrio come in as Wilson Fisk in the Hawkeye series. So that was very exciting. And to hear that Jon Bernthal is coming back, it makes me so happy. It really does. Unfortunately, it seems that Marvel is going to be recasting some of the roles. We already have gotten confirmation that the role of Vanessa has been recast. And now I don't want to say that I don't really mind that, just in my personal opinion. I was never the biggest fan of the character of Vanessa. She served more so as a means of Wilson Fisk's storyline, so didn't really care about that. But what I did care about was the report from numerous different outlets that Deborah and Woll will not be reprising her role as Karen Page, and Elden Henson will not be reprising his role as Foggy Nelson. That seemed really kind of big to me. Both of those characters were integral, big roles. I'm not even going to bother pronouncing that. They were big in Daredevil, in Matt Murdock's story, and I don't know if we are going to still see those characters and they're just going to have different actors, or if they're just going to write off those characters altogether. Seems a little implausible to have a Daredevil Center show and not include Foggy and Karen, especially because we've already established that in the MCU, Matt Murdock is still a lawyer, as we saw him, briefly in No Way Home representing Peter Parker. So I'm not sure how close these Disney versions of these characters are going to tie in with the Netflix. Just for the simple fact that at the end of Daredevil season 3, I mean, I didn't want Daredevil to end. I didn't want any of the shows to end. But if you were going to end Daredevil, it was a near perfect ending. Seeing the three of them reunite, see them, bring back Nelson and Murdock. So I have to assume that Nelson and Murdock, the law firm, is still in existence in the MCU. So do we hear of Foggy and just not see Foggy? Or are we going to see another actor as Foggy? That's a little strange to me. I thought Elden, Henson, and Charlie Cox had a great dynamic together. And of course, I thought Deborah Ann Woll was just phenomenal as Karen. Not only did she have this dynamic relationship with Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, but I was definitely on the shipping train of Jon Bernthal's Frank Castle and Deborah Ann Woll's Karen Page. The idea of not seeing the two of them, Jon Bernthal's Frank Castle and Deborah Ann Woll's Karen Page, reunite on screen is a little sad to me. Now, I don't know if the writers of this new show are even going to care of establishing more of a connection between Karen and Frank, if they're even going to care that they have very much this strong history with each other. Or, I mean, are they going to recast Karen and have this new actress step into this role while working with Frank Castle? It's gonna, for fans, I think it's gonna feel really weird. I don't think you can really redo that type of chemistry that the two of them had. So that's going to be a little disappointing. I mean, I don't want to be too selfish because just a few years ago, we didn't even think that we were going to see some of these actors back. And if we did, I don't think a lot of us even thought that we were going to see the Punisher back just because of how violent his character is and if Disney would even want to have a character like that in their universe. So again, I don't want to be selfish because getting the news that Jon Bernthal is back is just right. But it's a little disappointing. I'm not sure how I feel about it. As I said, I don't want to be too selfish and say, oh, now that Deborah Ann Woll and Elden Heston aren't returning, I don't want this. I still very much want this. I just wish that there had been a way to bring them back. And I think what that shows to me is that side supporting characters, I don't want to call them side characters, we'll call them supporting characters. I think what that shows to me is that supporting characters are much more likely to be recast as opposed to the main cast. We may very well see Kristen Ritter pop up as Jessica Jones, Mike Coulter as Luke Cage, but I doubt we'll see I'll say this, right? I was a huge fan of Tom Pelphrey's portrayal of Ward Meacham in the Iron Fist shows. Very, very much, I very doubt, can't even talk today. I doubt highly, there you go. I doubt highly that we're going to see him return as Ward Meacham. If they weren't going to bring back Deborah Ann Woll and Elden Heston, while knowing how important they are to the Daredevil story, if they're not willing to bring them back, I doubt that many side characters are coming back. Again, we have Charlie Cox, we have Vincent D'Onofrio, we have Jon Bernthal now. We may get the other main defenders. I don't know. That's not anything. I have not heard anything. But I'm speculating that if we do get them back, we're not getting their supporting characters. If we get the characters, we're not getting the actors. And that it's a little disappointing. Again, a few years ago when all of the shows on Netflix are canceled, we didn't even know if we were going to see any of them again. There were obviously a lot of uproar. And then there was kind of that stage of grief where you just accepted it and you almost told others, just accept it, man. It is what it is. We can't spend all this time sad about it. But then they brought back Charlie Cox, and then they brought back Vincent D'Onofrio, and now they're bringing back Jon Bernthal, and that's all really exciting for me. I know it's not Netflix. I know that it's Disney. It's going to be different. Already, we've seen that Charlie Cox's performance as Matt Murdock has been different, especially in She-Hulk. We've seen that Vincent D'Onofrio's character, his version of Wilson Fisk is different. Not really his acting. I thought that the Wilson Fisk character was very much in line with what we saw in the Netflix shows. I just think his strength was what was different. And that took a lot of people back. But I am willing and okay to kind of accept that. If I squint, I can tell that they're the same characters, right? Obviously, they're going to be different. There's different writers, there's different stories. The Netflix shows always kind of loosely belonged in the MCU. There was mentions of the incident in New York that happened in the first Avengers with Loki. They've mentioned other Avengers characters, so you always kind of knew that it kind of took place, but not. It didn't like really tie in. But now that it's on Disney and everything, these characters now take place within the MCU. So obviously some adjustments are going to be made, especially for the audience that Disney has. I'm not upset over it. A lot of people kind of criticized Phase 4. I didn't think Phase 4 was as bad as everyone says. And I really liked Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanium. So I am in the percentage of people who have not lost faith in the MCU. So I'm looking forward to all of this. I just don't know how I feel about the news that we won't get to see Deborah Ann Woll and Elden Henson back, because, as I said, in the Netflix shows, especially season 1 and season 3, I loved the 3 of their dynamic. Obviously season 2 and in Defenders, they were all split up, and that's why season 3 to me was so amazing, because we got to see the gang back together. And even though Karen Page wasn't in The Punisher a lot, her scenes with Frank Castle still stood out as some of the most standout scenes in the show. As you can tell, I can really talk tonight. Let me take a sip of my coffee. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to come on and ask the audience what they thought of the news of the recasting. I think that I am not in the minority of people who were a little disappointed to hear about the fact that we wouldn't see their characters return. And maybe I'm being a little unfair about not being that overly upset over Vanessa being replaced. Let me actually look up the name because I do not want to be rude. Yeah, so originally I let Zurer, and I know that I probably butchered that name, but she played Vanessa originally in Daredevil. And again, not that I didn't absolutely love her portrayal, and I didn't love the dynamic that her and Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk had. It's just that her character, again, felt like a catalyst for showing us Wilson Fisk's rage and his love. And even in Daredevil season 3, it really kind of felt like Vanessa didn't really care about Wilson Fisk that much. And the fact that Wilson Fisk put a lot on the line for Vanessa, with her just not seeming like that great of a person, was like, okay, I don't really like you now. But they did recast her. We are not going to see the original actress back again. Instead, we will be seeing Sandrine Holt as Vanessa Fisk. And again, I don't mind this new casting. It's interesting because the actress does seem younger than the original actress, so I'm just wondering what that's going to look like on screen. But you know, it's not that big of a deal to me. Again, my biggest deal is just getting the news that Deborah Ann Woll and Elden Henson aren't showing up. I kind of am hoping that they don't get recast, and maybe if we get a season 2, they'll come back or something like that. And maybe the story for season 1 of Daredevil Born Again doesn't leave a lot of room for the characters of Foggy and Karen. I do hope that we hear mentions of them, but we'll have to see. I'm just excited. That's all. I'm just pumped about this. News of getting Daredevil and Frank Castle back in the MCU has just been something that I've been waiting for the last few years. So it's still pretty good to be a Marvel fan. But yeah, that's my tea time with tea. I don't have much else to say other than that. Please let me know your thoughts. I would obviously really love to hear them. Please make sure that if you're not subscribed, you subscribe. Please make sure you give this a thumbs up or a like, whatever YouTube does. And if you want to see more Tea Time with Tia, let me know, because it's been a really long time, as I said, since I've done this. But anyway, I'm Tia. Have a wonderful day, and Geek Vibes Nation will see you next time. Bye.